I'm Courtney. So for our process, we use the DMAIC process, and this includes define the opportunity, measure the potential, analyze the process, improve/implement, and control the process. So for phase one, so define the opportunity. So when we went into Dunkley International, we realized that there was no manufacturing process in place. And by this, we mean that there was no process in place for parts and as well as labeling for that. And then if we did create an effective storage solution, this would save time, money, and also resources for different workers as well. So if someone actually were to come in to Dunkley that didn't work here, it would take a long time for them to find parts compared to someone that actually works here. So for phase two, so for measure the potential, so like I said before, there was no storage solution in place, and this caused for unorganized inventory, and obsolete parts were still accounted for compared to parts that were still being used. They were mixed together. And like I said before, there was no parts that were documented as well, so no labels in place based off of functionality and part use too, which made it difficult for workers to actually find parts and actually affected their work as well. So for here, this is before we actually came in and actually put it into the system. But before, as you can see, there's no labels in place as well. It's very cluttered, as you can see. And it'd be very hard for a worker to actually come in and find parts, and especially if someone that was new, like I said before, coming in and trying to find these parts. And just parts were placed back onto the shelves just to get out of the way. There was no specific purpose as to why they were put in that specific area, and they should be closer to a specific sort of part as well, just to make that easier for a worker. And then, like I said before, there's no inventory management solution here as well. Parts are just put onto different shelves with no specific purpose as to why that is. And there's no functionality as well too, due to all the clutterness too. It would take a while for a worker to find specific parts and to locate that as well.
Okay, so for the measurement phase, we had to create a spaghetti diagram in order to look over the workflow and processes at Dunkley. So for the first step for this, we had to determine where the processes began and ended, and then we had to also identify the location on where the parts were. So some parts were located in the vision system room, but some parts were located on the shop floor. And the main point of this is to reduce the time when allocating the parts. So as you can see here, most of the parts were located in the vision system room, but there were 3 parts located on the shop floor. So we also created a process map. So for the process step, we had to notice the parts first, then we had to check the back inventory room for new parts. For step 3, we found parts in the back vision system room, and step 4, we collected the parts and put them on the table. So the results from the pick list, so for pick list 1, that is the one that me and Katie did, there were 17 parts that were picked on this pick list, but there were 20 parts total and 3 parts were not ordered yet. It took roughly 13 minutes to pick all 17 parts, and there were about 3 parts that were located on the shop floor, like I said previously. And for pick list 2, that is the one that Muhammad and Teddy did, there were 21 parts total on this pick list. There were 13 minutes to pick all 21 parts. The majority of the parts were located in the first vision system room, like I previously said, and 3 parts were located on the shop floor, and roughly 80% of the parts were the same on both pick lists. So for phase 3, we had to analyze the process. So first we had to organize and document the parts. Then we had to determine where the parts needed to be placed based on point of use. And then we also had to eliminate the obsolete parts to maximize the inventory that was needed. So for the analyze, we had to determine what materials were obsolete and which ones stayed. So by doing so, we had to put the parts on different pallets and go through them to see if they were obsolete and see which ones that stayed. We also had to determine which machine that it went to. So in our case, it was for the Mach 10. We also created a new storage layout, which is what Muhammad will be talking about later on in the slideshow. And then we also had to make new part numbers for the labels.
So I'm going through the 5S process. First, we sort the parts. We sort the parts by going through the inventory in both vision room systems. Then we separate the parts. We separate the parts to make it to maximize the inventory place. Then strengthen. After sorting, we reorganize the parts for the workers that need, in order to make it easier for them to locate. Also, we documented the parts by creating labels, including pictures and part numbers. And then after that, we did shine. So we remove everything out of both of the rooms. Then including unnecessary shelves and unnecessary inventory and the floor and the shop floor. And also the walls has gotten painted with white color and floor with the black color. Standardized. We went over the sort, strengthen, and shine to confirm that the processes are taking place. And sustain. We begin throughout the obsolete parts in order to continue improvement. So phase four, implementation and improvements. We implement a new storage solution for Dunkley by creating labels based on functionality. Also, we place parts to the point place to allow for their inventory to be sorted efficiently and effectively. We discard obsolete parts to reduce inventory. This is an example for our labels. As you can see, we created a new part number, and also a picture for the parts and which machine is used for. In this picture, as you can see, it's the inventory room. Used to be in the inventory room, and after going the 5S project, we removed out the unnecessary inventory and unnecessary shelves to organize the room. Also, as you can see in the picture below, the room has been painted with white color and the floor with a black color. This is a diagram for the vision system room, and this is a layout for the room. This used to be another inventory room. After going through the 5S process, we moved everything, all the inventory, to the other room. So now it's as the picture below. As you can see, it's the showroom for the Mac 10 machines, and this is this is diagram for the room, and this is where the machine must be located. Speaking of the diagram, so after we organized, it only took us 2 minutes to find 20 parts, and as you can see here, most of the parts are in the vision system room, and some of the parts were located in the showroom because some of the parts were actually physically located already in the Mac 10 machine.
Okay, this is a before and after for the pick list 1 performed by Katie and Courtney. Before, it took roughly 13 minutes to get 17 parts. 3 parts were not found in the vision system room, they're found on the main floor. Afterwards, all 20 parts were picked and found. It only took about 2 minutes, and all parts were located in both vision system rooms. This is the second pick list before and after performed by Muhammad and myself. Pretty similar results on the before. 3 parts were located outside the floor, outside on the main floor. Took about 13 minutes. And then afterwards, found all 21 parts. But 1 part was located on the main floor, but we reduced the time to 4 minutes. And phase 5, control the process. We really implemented an inventory management system which will allow employees to easily pick up on things, finding inventory and using the new storage solutions so that we can effectively remove obsolete parts yearly. And in the beginning, there was no storage process in place. It's roughly 40 pallets of inventory, 2 inventory rooms, unorganized inventory. Afterwards, at the end, there were labels created, ended with roughly only 10 pallets. We repopulated the inventory room, and we also removed one of the inventory rooms and created a showroom. And this is just a review of the DMAIC process. We defined the opportunity, we measured the potential, we analyzed the process, we improved and we implemented, and we controlled the process.
Lead here at Dunkley International, and I did my project on the Herco 5S and process improvement. So similar to other projects, we use DMAIC as a project management tool, and the reason we use this tool is because right from day one it allows me and my corporate champion to be on the same level as to where this project is going to take us, and we're never going to have any arguments or complications throughout the project of, oh, I was expecting you to go this way and I was expecting to go this way. Right from day one we're on the same page of this is the project, this is where it's going, and this is where we expect it to be taken towards the end of the project. I had part of my project was 5S, similar to theirs. And 5S is sort, set, order, shine, standardize, and sustain. And the importance of 5S is not only does it fix the problem and make it very organized and good looking, but it also allows for continuous improvement to take place long after I'm gone and the process has been implemented into the company. So defined. So this project was brought up because there was no current organizational system in place for the Herco fixtures. And so what I did was I had a goal that I wanted to 5S the fixtures and the Joe workstation so it's manageable and measurable, so that at the end of it, the efficiency would save time, resources, and ultimately money. So measurements. So the Herco storage was very unorganized. There was actually no process in place. So when the fixture would come off and they'd do a changeover, it would just go back on the storage at a completely random spot. The parts that were associated with each fixture were just thrown on fixtures randomly, and they weren't in a separate storage spot to make it safe for when they're lifting these fixtures out with the high-lows, that these parts wouldn't fall off and get damaged.
So the fixtures are stored in a different place than from the previous project?
They're stored in the same place, but it's strategically organized.
Okay.
I'll get into it.
Okay.
So there was a lot of lost drill bits within the drill bit workstation, because it was very unorganized. The drill bits had no prior, or there was no designated spot for these drill bits based on size or model. And also there was a lot of obsolete fixtures and drill bit parts that were in storage still. This was a previous process map of one of the changeovers I did. As you can see, a lot of the materials and resources necessary to complete this process weren't centralized towards the Herco machine. They were spread out throughout the shop floor, so there was a lot of time spent going to retrieve these parts, and ultimately it was just really inefficient every time they had to do a changeover. Here's a snapshot of the process map. It was way too many steps to fit in one PowerPoint, and the reason I selected this snapshot was because you could get a good idea of how much time was spent cleaning, and to me, I noted that as an inefficiency right away, and I thought that was something that I would like to fix throughout the project, because I noticed how much, about half the time of the changeover was simply spent cleaning fixtures or cleaning drill bits. Here's some of the current state pictures. That's the fixture underneath, and as you can see, all the parts are just scattered on there randomly with no labels, no organization, so no one would know what any of that was unless they had industry knowledge and experience. This was the workbench. As you can see, it was really dirty. All the drill bits are just thrown randomly in boxes. There's no organization based on size, model, or anything that would allow the user to be able to depict what box is for which drill bits. This is the storage before. So you can see all the parts and stuff located on the fixtures, and also there was no strategic organization to these fixtures based on which ones they use the most, which ones they don't use, which ones are absolutely never used and shouldn't even be up there. So that was something that I had to go in and document and figure out during the beginning stages of my project. Here's another picture of the fixture storage. You can still see it's really unorganized. More pictures of the drill bit desk. You see one of the biggest problems was all the biggest drill bits are thrown on top, so a lot of the smaller bits that were not very big would get lost and they'd never know where they were because they were just stuck down to the bottom of the boxes. This was the underlayer of the workbench, and I kind of had an idea that this is where I wanted to clean off and get all those fixture parts that were correlated with the fixtures, and maybe put it here as a storage unit so we could separate it from the fixture storage and the drill bit storage. So anyways, so I went through and I worked with Doug directly and figured out which fixture, what it is, what it's used for, and what it's capable of producing, so someone that didn't have a lot of knowledge like me could come in and get a good understanding of, okay, what is this fixture, what's it used for, and where is it. I also went in and was able to figure out which fixtures were still obsolete or aren't obsolete and which ones are obsolete. And then I wanted to analyze the drill bit work station utilization. The station was a little far from the Herco machine, and I wanted to find a way to get it closer so that we could save time going to those drill bits. For the improved section, I created a new structured workbench with organized drill bits based on size and model, so a lot of the smaller bits wouldn't get lost under the big drill bits. I went in and I was able to organize them all, so all the small bits are now small separate compartment to where they won't get lost, or even what I noticed was that drill bits were actually purchased because they thought some of them were lost, and I was able to find them, and now we have 20 or 30 of the same drill bits because I was able to find them lost in the debris at the bottom of the boxes. And then for the fixtures, I cleaned the fixtures, created very detailed and descriptive labels, and removed the obsolete fixtures. Here is when we took the fixtures off of the storage unit. I polished them and I air compressed them, and I worked with Doug directly to figure out which ones were obsolete, and I was able to take 4 fixtures out and we stored them back in the Kwanzaa hut because they're no longer used. This is when all the fixtures were off of the storage unit. This is they were currently painting the floor and painting the storage unit itself. And here's the after picture of the storage after everything was implemented and the painting changes were done from the company. This is the labels I created for each individual fixture. Like I said, someone that has no industry knowledge or experience can now come in and see, okay, this is what a DC6 drill press looks like, what it's used for, what the function is, and what machine itself it goes with. A packet of them sits directly on the Herco storage unit, so that when someone's trying to use the machine or walking by, like maybe when you're going for your tour, you can take a look at it and get a basic understanding of each fixture and what it's used for. This is now what was on top of the fixtures, what was sitting on top of them. I was able to organize them under the drill bit station, which is now placed directly next to the Herco machine, so that was able to save a lot of time and troubles of when you're trying to lift the Herco fixture off of the storage unit. None of the parts will roll over or fall off. This is the drill bit organization I did. As you can see, I cleaned every single drill bit they had, and I organized them based on size and model. So you can see a lot of the shorter and smaller drill bits are in the middle, and I was able to create all of the large, really bulky drill bits off to the side so that they wouldn't come in and kind of cover and hide all of the other drill bits. These were some of the smaller ones. It was very tedious cleaning these and locating these. I mean, I found hundreds of these that I don't think have been touched in years. A little close-up of all the big drill bits on the side. I put all of the large drill bits that actually go into the Herco machine themselves on top. And here are the really, really small drill bits that that got lost and were just in inches of like dust and debris at the bottom of the boxes. So control, employees got to make sure they return the drill bits and fixtures to their proper storage location to ensure efficiency, and also make sure new obsolete fixtures and drill bits are discarded annually so there's no waste that's currently in the inventory. And then also to continue to clean the drill bit and the fixtures so that when they're doing these changeovers, they don't waste so much time cleaning and trying to get the drill bits able so they can be used effectively. And then to compare, so recently, 2 or 3 weeks ago, the Herco machine had an error and it is having trouble leveling the fixture with the machine, so they stopped using it about 3 weeks ago, which was right after I implemented everything. So in order to get a cost savings for this project, as soon as the Herco machine's up and running again, all I have to do is compare the new changeover times to the ones I have recorded, which I have multiple recorded, and then by using that time difference, they will be able to get an estimated value on how much it was saved throughout the project. This is a review of the DMAG project, DMAG process. Any questions?
Project. I went through the DMAG process for my project where I defined the opportunity, measured the potential,
analyzed the process, improved and implemented the process, and controlled the process. For phase one of define the opportunity, the current process needed improvements. The inventory room lacked uniformity. Not all parts had labels, and when not all parts had labels, it could create more time when locating parts, and the more spending less time locating parts can save time and money. For phase two, measuring the potential, I took photos of every part, which helped me identify location and identify which parts were not identified. And I also created a spaghetti diagram of the current process to have a clear understanding of the order picking process. And through measurement, I found that the inventory room is unorganized, that parts are found not labeled or labeled incorrectly. There's labels found all over the floor, that there's no permanent labels affixed to the shelving units, and there's no inventory, or there's no part index for the inventory to help make locating parts for anyone at Dunkley a more feasible task. And here on the left, these are just some photos of, you can see that the parts do not have, many of the parts do not have labels on the shelving units. Same for here, it's many of the parts not having shelving units, and there's just labels scattered all over the ground because just when you're picking parts off the shelves, they were magnetic and they would just fall off, and that can become a problem because those labels can end up on the wrong shelving unit. And this was just the process map I came up with, where I met with Sean and he picked 31 items. He couldn't find 4 items, and it took him about 20 minutes and 7 seconds. Analyze, this is actually where I picked up the project. I came to Dunkley about a month later than everyone else, and Landon and Nick were kind enough to find a project with me to pick up where they left off. And what I did is I grouped the parts based on identified and unidentified parts, where I found 176 parts identified, 192 unidentified. And then what I did is I met with Sean, one of the guys that work on the shop floor, and I verified that the descriptions were correct of the identified parts. And we found that 24 of the 176 parts were incorrect. And we also, I also met with Sean to find the description of the non-label parts that he gave me, and we found that 17 of the 192 parts were unidentified, or were obsolete.
Does incorrect mean wrong part number or picked
It
up the wrong
had the
part?
wrong description, or like I said, the labels were magnetic, so it could have just got returned to the wrong shelving unit, and, yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And for I came up with 5 whys, where I found the problem was that the inventory room can be difficult for employees to locate parts. Why can it be difficult to locate parts? Because the inventory room is unorganized. Why is the inventory room unorganized? Because there's no part index for organization. Why is there no? I implemented new storage solution where I created labels that would stay permanently affixed to machines to the correct shelving unit. These labels were coordinated by color, color coordinated by machine, and I also implemented a part index, which includes the description, part number, and location. This part index is probably the most important part of the project because it allows anyone at Dunkley to look up a part and find it if necessary. This is just an example of one of the part index, where you have the description of the hopper brush hand knob with the part number, the machine that it belongs to, of the old style cast iron, and the shelving unit of shelving unit J of that shelving unit. It's in the 4th row, and it is the 3rd part on that shelving unit. And then this is just the new label, the updated label system that I had. This is actually the only part of the old current process that stayed, was that the color coordination of the labels, of red being the SSP2 or 3000, green being the stem-on pitter, and purple being the cherry stemmer, and etc. Except the difference is that these are not magnetic and they will stay permanently affixed to the units so that you won't mix up. They won't find their way to the wrong part. And then this is just a photo of the shelving units with parts, with the labels on the shelving units. And then for control, we just need to provide employees with knowledge and training. They need to understand they need to understand the location of the index. They need how the location works and how it is all organized. And we just need to continuously improve by make sure that the employees are using the new storage solution and properly discard obsolete parts as they come about.